Today on A New Breed of Golf, we're talking about deflection on the face, how that's robbing distance from you, and the importance of pushing and pulling. What's the difference? How's it going to help you? Let's do this! It's time for Proving It, presented by Titleist. I know I'm enjoying that yellow golf ball, and I hope you are too, so get your hands on those. All right, listen, I want to talk to you a little bit about the face of the golf club. So many times you think at home that the path is the thing that sends the ball on its way, and the face is the thing that bends the ball. So path sends it, face bends it. It's not the way it is. The face of the golf club really has a huge effect on what this golf ball does, where it starts, the spin, all that other stuff. And I want to show you this so you completely understand this. Now what I've got is I've got a box, I've got a small little basketball that I kind of borrowed from my kids. Now, what I want you to pay attention to is how this ball rebounds off the box. So I take this, roll it into the box, and you can see that it's pretty much going to roll up the box. The ball, because it's got a top spin, hits the box, it rolls up it, but it bounces back off almost perpendicular to the path that it comes in on. And again, because of the spin and the grab on the box, it doesn't necessarily reflect absolutely that way, but that's basically what happens. Now, if I take this box and I twist it on an angle like this, so now I'm going to roll the box on this line right here. This box is going to bounce off, or the ball rather, is going to bounce off the box in some angle like that. It's going to basically turn something like that. See it bounce over there like that? Now that tells you the deflection that this box provides. So that is what we call a horizontal deflection. And there's a horizontal deflection that takes place when a golf face strikes a ball. There's also a vertical deflection that takes place. So let me take this. I'm going to grab this here, take this. I'm going to angle this just like that. Now that's roughly about a 9-iron, 8-iron type lob. Now watch, when I roll this into this, it's now a ramp. It's going to hit this and it's going to deflect up. You see it deflect up? It actually bounces up. So when I take this and twist this now on an angle, I have an angle in a vertical fashion, I have an angle in a horizontal fashion, and this ball bounces up and then kicks over to the right. Now, why is this important? Because I see so many of you trying to figure out what's going on with your golf swing, and the last place that you look is to the face. You spend all this time looking at what's the path doing? Is the path going in to out? Is the path going face? Focus on the face. I'm telling you, as you start to get control over this face, you're going to start to understand what's going on with your shot. The other thing is that the ball does not start 90 degrees to the path. It just doesn't do that because of the angle of the face, both in a horizontal and a vertical fashion. And so when I'm hitting a shot and I want to hit, say, a little bit of a cut, so now I'm going to set the club face a little bit open, I'm going to hit this. Now, that golf ball is going to spin over to the right-hand side. So come on over here and let me just show you what happened. The horizontal launch is 2.7 degrees to the left. So that means, just round up, it started 3 degrees to the left of dead center. And the vertical launch, 17.7, it started at about an 18-degree angle up. So it started, let's just say, 3 degrees to the left and 18 degrees up. That's the deflection that the club face had. Now, it curved to the right, which means that the face of the golf club was open to the path that we were swinging the club on. In other words, the ball started 3 degrees to the left of dead center. But the path itself was greater than 3 degrees to the left of dead center because the ball had spin to the right. Do you understand that? The face deflected the ball to the right, and so even though it started 2.7 degrees to the left, it was still to the right of the path that the club head was swinging on. And I know that that feels a little complicated for you to understand, but you have to understand that in order for you to know how open or closed the face is, you have to understand what the intended line is, right, where my target is, and then where I'm swinging this path. So as we start to pay attention to what we're doing with the curve of the golf ball, if I want to start the ball to the left and fade it to the right, I have to swing more left than I want it to start. I have to swing more left than I want the ball to start. So if I want it to start 3 degrees to the left, depending upon the club itself, I'm going to have to swing more than 3 degrees to the left to get it to curve back to the right. So let's see if we can do that again. I'm going to set this club face a little bit open. I'm going to aim over here. Let's see if I can get this ball to start left and curve right. So come on up here. Now let's take a little look at what we got. This one started 4.7 degrees to the left. Well, yeah, because I'm going to make sure as I'm teaching you that I'm going to overdo what I said I'm going to do. So I'm going to swing more left. And it launched at 17.5, almost identical. 17.7 was the one that I had before. This is 17.7. So my vertical launch, my horizontal launch, a little bit different than what I had before. Now, what happened to the golf ball? Well, it started left. Greg, I don't know if you can play those two. It started left. So here you go. Starts to the left, and now it curves back to the right-hand side and drops. And what did we end up getting? Well, I got 822 RPMs of right spin. So that means that that one there was spinning more to the right than the one that I had before. So my club face was even more open. Even though the ball started more left, the face was more open, and I ended up getting more side spin to the right-hand side. Now, how is this valuable to you? Well, the way it's valuable is when you start to look at a shot. Now, those were desired shots. Shots that we don't like, they're undesired shots. An undesired shot might be this shot. Instead of aiming to the left, I aim at the target. But I'm going to put the same spin on the ball. Try to put the same spin on the ball. Now, what this one did was it jumped out to the right. And you'll play this one again for me here, Greg. This one is going to start to the right, and it's going to curve to the right. So when we come over here and we look at what we got with this one, what we end up getting is I got 2.4 degree start line to the right. Now, that means I probably swung down the line. But because the club face was open, it started 2.5 degrees to the right. And then it spun 840 RPMs to the right. So that's how it ended curving over to the right. Can you play that one more time, Greg, so that everybody can see that? Because what you're going to see is that this is going to start to the right and then curve to the right. And as it starts to the right and it curves to the right, guess what? That's the undesirable. Now, what solves that problem? Well, most of you are going to sit here and you're going to go, well, I got a problem with my club. I've got the club and it's kind of working underneath me and that's why it's starting to the right. No, it's not. It's because your club face is open. Now, what do you do to try to solve that open club face? Well, it's very simple. You start with the grip. You make sure that you check your grip and make sure it's not too weak. If I get it to where I'm showing no knuckles of my lead hand and a lot of knuckles on my trail hand, club face is going to be open. If I show knuckles on my lead hand and no knuckles on my trail hand, so now I'm in here like this, and now I make that same swing. Now I hit that, altered my grip a little bit, and now what do we get? Well, Greg, you're going to show that to us again. We're going to come up here and we're going to see that. But show that to us again so we see what happens with that. And maybe you can play those last two. I don't know whether you can or not. You can see that one started at the flag, but it spun over to the left-hand side. So let's look at our numbers and see what we have here. Well, we got the launch to go to 17.2, pretty close to 17.5. We got the horizontal launch to start basically on the center line, 0.3 degrees to the right. So that's basically on the center line. And I got 631 RPMs of left spin. Oh, that was awesome. Can you show that again, Greg? I don't know. Yeah, so you see all those curves. What you're also going to see, particularly out of that last one, is the apex of the red one, which is the last one that we hit. That one there is lower than all the other ones. Why? Because of that vertical launch. When I get the face a bit more shut, now all of a sudden she starts down a little bit. She doesn't apex up as much. That one only apexed at 81 feet. But look at my distance. I got that to travel in the air, 174 feet, or 174 yards, rolled out to 179. So what does this all mean? It means face, 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 face. You get control over the club face, let the face tell you what's going on, and realize that the ball is going to deflect in both a horizontal fashion and a vertical fashion off of the face. The path does not start the ball where the path is going. It does not do that. The face is responsible for all that stuff, and as you pay attention to the face, you'll end up understanding the golf swing a whole lot better. You'll end up understanding the curve of the ball a whole lot better, and you'll start shooting lower scores, and that's Proving It, presented by Untitled. Time for a grip tip, presented by Golf Pride. I get so many questions asking me, Michael, I stand over my putts, and I just feel frozen. I don't know how to get the putter into motion. Well, as we start to stand over this ball and we start thinking about what's the thing that's going to create action, that's when we start to get really, really nervous and we stop making putts, we start missing putts. And when I say make and miss a putt, I'm talking about hitting the target you intend, not necessarily getting the ball to go into the hole. So I see people stand over the ball, there's like a lot of movement, and then all of a sudden, boom, they're a statue, and then there's nothing. And then they might look because they don't know what to do, and then all of a sudden the putter goes out and it's got no rhythm to it, no nothing. We've got to stop that. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to add a little forward press to your routine, to your putting stroke. So all you're going to do is you're just going to bump forward and go back and then go through. Really, really, really simple thing to do. Just bump forward and then let it start. And as you add this forward press, you're going to have a reaction. In other words, the action is the forward press. The action is forward, and then all of a sudden, it almost throws the putter head into motion. You get to where you're struggling with getting the putter to move. You get to where you feel like the putter is going outside, and I'll show you what I mean about that. Let's get a down the line shot, get that close-up shot. If I take the putter and I don't do a forward press, many of you just take the putter and you go outside like this. And when you go outside like that, now I got to open up the putter face to have a chance to get this ball to go where we want it to go. And it ends up taking a little bit of a hook spin, which is wild, but that's what it does. When you take the forward press and employ it into your game, what all of a sudden will happen is the putter will tend to move back along the line that you intend, maybe even slightly to the inside. And as that moves slightly to the inside, now we have a chance of letting the putter swing the way we want. Now, length of putt obviously has something to do with it. This putt here about 10, 12 feet, right? So this is not a gimme by any stretch of the imagination. But what we want is we want to be able to get this putter to have some freedom. And so what I want you to do in your practice routine is just get used to bump, go, go. So it literally is stand over it, look at the target, then you go bump, go, go. And as you start to do that, what you're going to get is you're going to get a real freedom in the putting stroke. There'll be a fluidity to it. And the transition, which is one of the most important parts of putting, the transition from the backswing to the through swing will be smooth. It won't be aggressive. It won't be abrupt. as you start to get a little bit more abrupt, all of a sudden the heel of the putter starts working well before the toe, and the next thing you know, you start missing putts again. So what I want you to do is, I want you to get over the practice stroke. I want you to just get a little bit of a forward press and let it move. And I don't want you to concern yourself with the make as much as the freedom of the putter moving back into the motion that you want, the freedom of the stroke. And what you can see is, well, I've made a number of putts, I've missed a few, but the distance that the ball is traveling is excellent. And the reason why is that I have a fluidity now in my putting stroke where I don't feel like I'm hitting the ball, I feel like I'm stroking the ball. It's almost like a paintbrush. So in here like this, bump up, back and through. And the other thing that I will tell you as you start to get comfortable with this is you want to get the feeling, that there's no effort in the stroke. And where there's no effort is where you have success in making it a stroke instead of a hit. So many of us, we get over there, we're stagnant, we're not moving, and then we hit, and it's abrupt, it's not fluid. We don't do what we want to do. All right, now, here's the money ball. All the pressure, got the make. You're standing over that really important putt. It's 10, 12 feet. This is not a putt that you should make. This is a putt that you hope to make. And what ends up happening to you when you hope to make is you start creating a little bit of stress, a little bit of movement. I want you to have some freedom. So we get in here like this, practice putting stroke, press, and through. So it's 1, 2, 3, bump, bump, bump. You feel that rhythm. You feel that tempo to that stroke. Bump, bump, bump. Good stroke for all the marbles. Yes! I got it. So, what do you want to do? You want to add that forward press. When you get that forward press, you're going to have a fluidity to your putting stroke. Now, the one thing I want to tell you, I don't want too much. I just want a little bump. I don't want you out there putting your hands almost into the hole. I want you to have just a little bit of a nudge forward and then go back. And all it's doing is it's putting things into motion. We've seen this used effectively for a long time. In fact, Phil Mickelson has one of the best forward presses, a very, very good putter. And also Jordan Spieth, another guy who uses a forward press. As you use this forward press, you're going to find your fluidity is going to get a lot better in your putting stroke. You'll start feeling like you're making a reaction, not an action, and that ball starts to tumble the way you want it to tumble. That's a grip tip presented by Golf Craft. Time for Proving It, presented by Titleist. The #1 ball in golf for a reason, and it's because of that consistency and that speed. Now, I want to talk to you today about how you can get a little bit more speed out of the golf ball, get a little bit more distance, hit the ball a little bit farther. And it's a very simple thing to understand. It's what I call width, but I want to show you how width can change the distance that the ball goes and how the ball gets to its ultimate destination. So here's what we're going to do. I got a 5-iron in my hand right here. I'm going to hit this shot, but what I'm going to do is create a very steep angle of attack. And then as I create this steep angle of attack, I'm going to explain some things to you as to why the golf ball doesn't go as far as it could go. And you're going to see some really interesting things. So I'm going to create a steep angle of attack. And this is one of the things that I see out of you. You tend to get the club up in the air. There's a lot of slamming of the golf club down on the ball. And even though you're generating good club head speed, you're not generating good ball speed. And I'm going to explain that to you here in a second. So here we go. Little steep angle of attack. See what happens. So obviously I hit down on that golf ball very hard. Now, I want you to just take a peek at what we have going on here. And again, shut the face, so pull it out. It just comes out as a pull. Can you replay that shot for me, Greg, so everybody can see that shot? Because this is going to be very interesting as you look at that. Look at the apex. Look at the curve of the ball. That club face is a little bit closed. It starts left and it goes left. That's a steep angle of attack, attacking down on the golf ball. Now let's take a peek at what our numbers are talking about. Apex 53, launch angle 9.6 degrees. Then we've got a club head speed, which is just a guess because I don't have it marked, a ball speed that's at 122.5. So that's enough speed to get that ball to get out there. It lands at about 177, but all of a sudden it ends up going 185. And because the ball's so low and it's trapping out this way with a backspin of 5,200, now all of a sudden that golf ball gets on the ground and it starts to go. Now, what we've got to do is we've got to get this golf ball to have a little bit of a higher apex. When I talk about apexing the ball a little bit higher, I am now talking about how I bring this golf club into the ball. And I want to just show you something real quickly before we get into this, because this is a really important part of how to get this golf ball to do what we want to do. So I want you to imagine that we're hitting the ball in that direction again. So I'm going to draw an arrow like this. That's the same direction that we were hitting the ball in this camera too. And I have a golf ball that's right here. Now, when I take the club and I create a steep angle of attack, this club is coming in on this angle right here. Energy is driving in that direction right there, or downward. And as that energy is driving in that direction downward, I'm losing a lot of my collision. I'm sending a lot of the energy downward instead of forward. I want the energy to be going in the arrow in the direction the arrow's going, which means I want this club to be coming into this golf ball a little bit more like this, or a little bit more like this, instead of like that. And I lose, even though club head speed might be, like I said, 89 or 90 miles an hour, when I'm driving it this way, I only get a ball speed that's going to be 122. So when I start to get some width in the backswing, and what that basically means is getting my arms and hands a little bit away from my chest, right? All of a sudden, the arc of the club head becomes a little bit wider. And as it's coming in wider, it's also now coming in more along the ground. And as that starts to happen, I don't have energy lost going into the ball, because it's not deflecting off of it in that vertical fashion. It's moving along the ground. That means that that ball is the energy is more like a head-on collision with a car instead of a glancing blow. So as I start to get a little bit wider in the backswing and I start to let this club come in along the ground, what's going to happen is I'm going to get a higher launch angle. That launch angle, as I said, was 9.6. And I'm going to start to get faster ball speeds, higher apexes, and greater carry and greater distance. So all that with just one thought. I'm not swinging the club any faster. And that's the part that you need to understand. You don't have to swing the club any faster to generate some more distance. And I look at this distance as a carry distance of 177, which is what I'm trying to get with the iron. I want the ball to carry a certain distance, not how far does it go. Because if I'm trying to hit at 177 and the flag's in the back of the green and it lands at 177 and then it rolls to 185, I've got a very difficult little chip shot or pitch shot from behind the green, possibly even a bunker shot. So I'm going to get a little bit wider. And I'm going to tell you how to get wider here in a second. But right now, let me just get a little bit wider and we're going to see what happens to these numbers. Now, watch what happens to this shot. First of all, you can see that ball didn't roll out very far. In fact, it flew to 189 and rolled out to 192. So it only rolled 2 yards as opposed to 7. But it flew 11 yards to 12 yards farther, just getting a little bit more shallow. Now watch what happens. Watch the change in these particular numbers. First of all, apex, 110. What was my apex before? 61 feet. What was it at? 53. 53 feet. So I doubled that apex with that shot there. And again, I don't know whether you can pull those 2 shots up again or not, but you're going to see that the apex of the second one is out of the screen. The blue one is well in the screen. The red one is out of the screen. That's because it's doubled. Now, we start to look at that vertical launch. That vertical launch, remember before, was 9.4 degrees. I think that's what it was. This one is 19.7. So a higher launch angle because the club is coming into the ground this way. And watch what happens to spin rates. The spin rate of that other one that I had was higher, actually 5,200 it was at before. Now it's at 4,900. Yet because the golf ball was apexed higher, the descent angle was steeper, and so though there was less spin, it rolled less. Because normally the ball with less spin is going to roll more. But this one, because it's apexed higher, it rolls less because the descent angle. Now, look at the ball speed. The ball speed on the other one was 122.5. 122.5. This is 123. So it's a half a mile an hour. That's all I got, a half a mile an hour. I gained a little bit of ball speed, not less, a little bit of ball speed, a lot of distance, 11 yards. Imagine what happens when you go to that driver and all of a sudden now you're getting similar clubhead speeds, similar ball speeds, but a whole lot more distance. And as we start to look at this, now we start seeing how this golf ball is going to react because of what we're doing to shallow this club. Now, what do we do to shallow the club? You've probably heard me tell you this 1,000 times. I'm going to continue to tell you to do this more and more because you need width in your swing. And what you do to gain width is you take the trail arm and you keep it straight. One of my favorite drills. You set up, take your lead hand off, make a backswing, go like that, put your lead hand on. Now you have it here, and now you come down. I'm not at all concerned with where the ball goes. I'm just trying to feel what it feels like to have width. So back here, take it to there, get the club, come down like that. And what you're going to feel is a lighter action of the golf club in the ground. If I'm hitting on mats, you'll hear it sound lighter as well. If I'm chopping, if I'm sweeping, totally different sound. And you can hear that on mats. So if you're one of those people that practices on mats, because I hate practicing on mats, it hurts my elbow. Well, you know why you're hurting your elbow? Because you're too steep and you got to get a little bit more shallow. So you do that drill where you get this extension back there with the right arm or the trail arm, and then we're going to put that into action with this club. So feel that right arm get way back there. See if we can get something similar to what we just got. We got 110. I think we got 110, 123, and 189. And this one I hit really well. So here we go again. Let's look at this. Apex, remember before I had it at 110. We started, our baseline was at 53. This one's at about 90, 86 feet. Backspin, similar, 4,200. Had a little bit of a draw on that one. The ball speed went down to 121, so I was under the ball speed that carried 177. I got that to carry 187 and a half. So again, more distance, more distance, more distance. More distance, more smiles. More distance, more fun. More distance, lower scores. More distance, more friends being jealous of you. Get that trail arm. I'm going to hit one more before I end this here so you get a real look at this. And I'm going to try to give this just a little bit more power. Okay? Trail arm, pushing back. Got that one just a fraction off of the toe. Wasn't my greatest hit at all. And yet, poor contact, great distance, 121 on the ball speed again. Less than I got with my chop. 185.4, more than I got with my chop. What does it mean? You need some width. You get yourself some width. You don't need to get any more clubhead speed. You may get some, but you don't need any more clubhead speed. What you're going to end up getting is greater distance, greater launch angle, higher apex, more distance, more fun. And that's Proving It, presented by Untitled. Time for our transformational tip, presented by Morgan Franklin. You've heard it 1,000 times. From your friend, from yourself. I pulled that. I pushed that. What is pull and push? How does that work? Well, pull is obviously when the golf ball is going over here to the inside or towards the heel, and push is when the ball goes out to the toe side. Well, it actually means something more than that. And that means what you're doing with your arms and your hands. The pull is the arms are pulling into the body, and the push is the arms are pushing away from the body. Now, why is that an important thing to know? Well, there's power to be gained or lost based on how you move your arms and your hands through the shot. So when I start to pull my hands this way, and this is something I was taught when I was a kid. You get down here and you pull that handle down. I'm going to pull that handle down. And as I start to pull handles, what I'm doing is I'm pulling that into me. I'm losing power. I'm losing speed. This is my 6-iron right here. And this is going to be a pull swing. So I hit my little pull swing, and what do I get? I get a little bit of a cut. Greg, we're going to play that shot again. I get a little bit of a cut. The ball only traveled 154 miles, 154 yards, and it went 109 miles an hour. You can see that ball twisting off to the right-hand side. I'm going to pull this one even more. By the way, that horizontal launch was just slightly to the left, about a degree. I'm going to pull even more here. So I really pulled on that one. Missed the contact, so my strike was out on the toe. But again, the ball started. You can see as I pulled that ball started 3.2 degrees to the left. I was really pulling hard. I also got a launch angle that was pretty low, 17 degrees. Now, I want to push. And what I'm telling you is if you want more distance, you got to push. You get in here with the trail arm, trail hand, and you push into that strike. And as you start to push into the strike, you're going to generate a lot of speed. You're going to generate a lot of power, and you're going to get a much more solid contact. The lead side of the body is a pull side, and the trail side of the body is a push side. So I start pushing with my right hand. Watch how my distance goes up here. 6-iron, targets at 175. Ball speed on that one was 107. The other one was 109. Here's my push. So I just pushed with my right arm as fast as I could. I just pushed my hand through that shot. Come on up here. I want to pull you up here so I can show you the push. Look at the ball speed. 109 to 121. That distance, 183 in the air. 183 yards I got out of pushing. Watch, I'm going to do another push for you here. And watch how this one goes. Again, same thing. Just a push. I'm going to push even more this time. Caught that just a little bit fat. A little bit fat. 173. I'm pushing again. This time I'm going to push and make solid contact. Because why wouldn't I? We got to make sure we make solid contact. Got to prove the point to you. Take your time with this push. There's another push. What you're also going to notice when we do this is ball speeds go up, distance goes up, but the golf ball doesn't go to the pull side. I don't get this ball starting to the left. Are you one of those individuals that's pulling every single shot? Pull your putts? Pull your little pitches? The reason why you're pulling is because you're pulling. Don't pull. Push. How do we push? Well, when we get in here and you start to take your hand and you push that way, I don't want you to push down. I want you to push forward. When I start to push forward, watch how my body moves out of the way. It's a reaction. The instinct to push, all of a sudden my left hip, my left shoulder, it's got to get out of the way. You have to accommodate the hands going across and getting away from you. So we push, and we push, and we push. There's a good push and a very solid contact. What did I get out of that one? Well, come on up here for the last time because this is important. Look at my ball speed, 120.6. We round up, 121. Distance, 183. So I've got lots of distance in there by pushing. And what you'll also notice is it doesn't go left. It starts right. Greg, can you play that one again? Watch what happens as this golf ball starts. It starts out to the right, and then it draws. I know, you want to draw. I get it. You know how you draw? You push. Make sure the trail side is pushing and you'll get that extra distance. And that is our transformational tip presented by Morgan Franklin.